What's up, y'all? This is Daniel with Pride of the Southland Kennels. A little short video today about the goats. We're going to talk about rotating the goats, small scale rotational grazing for our pygmy goats out here. This is the area that they was in. You can see the line where it was at. I've been giving them 2,500 square foot a week. That seems to work right now for these goats with these with this age and the size that these goats are. And here's their new area. That should last them about a week. This is I got 2 strands of the Premier 1 fence up. Each strand is about 101 feet. So each side's approximately 50 feet. So this is 2,500 square foot. You can see I mow the fence line. That way it don't ground it out. And we got our hot box down here, a little rubber mallet, because it's been a little bit dry at times. But as you can see, the fence lines are clear, and this should last them about a week. Now, as they get older, I might have to expand it a little bit, but the reason for doing this is to keep the goats ahead of the parasites. I don't want to have to worm them or feed them. So this is a way to keep the goats on fresh grass and forage and weeds and whatever. This is not a great mix for them, but this fall, what I like is that when I'm leaving them on it a week, you can see they get it pretty bare in some spots, and that's great, because now what I'll do is I'll go through here and cut this right behind them. And as these spots are exposed in a couple of months, when it starts getting cooler, I'll re-sow this with a pasture mix, and that way it'll become thicker and thicker. And also, you know, they're going to get rid of the stuff, some of the bad stuff, and it's going to just keep it healthy. If I can figure out a rotation and not have them back on this little area right here for about 6 weeks, I should avoid parasites. And I used to cut all of this. I'd cut it about 4.5, 5 inches, the whole thing, and I'd let them browse on it. But then I got to noticing they was just really depleting it. Some spots were just terrible. So I decided I'm gonna let it grow a little bit and see how they do on that. I believe it'll last longer in an area. It's better for them. They're not as close to the ground. They say that, you know, the closer that they're eating to the ground, then the more risk there are of parasites. Right now, they're all in the shade. I'll go over here and see if I can get them out of the shade. That's their little hoop house that I built for shade. Well, there's one of them coming out. I'll walk around there real quick. All right, they was on the other side of it. When I move them, when I moved this fence, at first I was a little bit nervous about doing it. How am I going to get the goats back in here? It's just going to be a chore, but really just walk around with Teleco, and as you can see, they ain't much left on this. So when they get out and they start putting this fence up and you move your shade in there, well, these goats, anyhow, for me, they just go over here because they want this fresh ground and grass and weeds and stuff. And then of course they want their shade. That's just something temporary that I've seen people build. It's not going to last forever. As you can see, it's just a cattle panel cut in half and bent over. That tarp's getting wore out because they want to climb on it. So I'm going to eventually have to get something a little bit more permanent, or figure out something to tweak that to make it last a little bit longer. But yep, this is what we're moving towards, guys, a farm. Not necessarily just the bulldogs, but I want to talk about this fence. Anybody that's hung out and watched the video this long, this Premier 1 fence, at first I didn't like it, but as you learn to use it, I mean, the concept is simple, but as you get used to using it and figuring out how to use it, it's great. I keep mine inside of a permanent fence, as you can see. The reason I do that is I don't want them wearing out my permanent fence. This little setup is expensive, but it's well worth the money. If they get out, obviously I got to back up with the permanent fence. And then when they're inside this, they're not going to rub up on this because it's going to zap them. On a permanent fence, I've let mine out in the permanent fence and they'll just rub up on it and wear it out, and your permanent fence is just not going to last as long. They can climb that and dig under it. With this, they're not going to. As far as I can tell, and you know, I don't think I would do it without it now that I've done it. So anybody that's wondering about this fence, it's well worth the investment. You can control where your goats are at. This is the hot box, and you don't have to worry about them. As long as that's getting sun, you don't have to worry about them getting out, and you ain't got to worry about them staying in one spot, because it don't matter if this little group of goats right here had 5 acres, they'd find their favorite spot and they'd just wear that spot out. And this prevents them from doing that. They're only allowed on the ground, the same piece of ground anyhow, for a week at a time. So anyways, that's a quick little short video of our little rotational system that we're getting worked out. And I'll do a video later of the pups. Thank y'all for watching.